this on the computer. So again, Johnson, welcome to digital marketing class in Ateneo. It's purely online. If you remember the one you had before, we were present in
Was in
one,
person.
but here
Yes, yes.
everybody's online. So welcome, welcome, and thanks for accepting our invite for today.
Of course, Bong. Always happy to share my experience, especially in an academic setting. Yeah, thanks for inviting me again.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, should I start?
Yes.
Okay, sige. So, I only have a very short period of time. So my request is, let's condense and maybe curate all the questions to the Q&A period at the end of the session, if that's possible. Okay, and for now, so it's easier, can you mute all your mics? There, better. So there's no background noise. Okay, so let me start. So it's actually a very, what I'm presenting today is a presentation I've given several times. No? It's called Marketing in a Mobile First World. I presented this to quite a few big companies already, including GMA, ABS-CBN, a few big advertising agencies, and so on. And it's really a long talk. It's usually 1.5 to 2 hours long, but I'm gonna try to condense it to 20 minutes, no, by removing all the irrelevant examples. No? But when I share the deck with you, so I'll be sharing the actual Google Slides deck with you guys. There will be some videos there that um, will have examples now, so you can play it within the deck itself. Okay, so I won't cover these today just because I'm not sure how the videos will play in Meet and Zoom, and I'm not sure if we have enough time. So, without further ado, let me proceed. So maybe a quick intro about me. I've been doing digital marketing for around 11 years now, of which my first 8 years were spent working in different ad agencies. No? So I don't know how many of you remember Yehe.com. Yehe.com was one of the very first digital agencies in the Philippines. No? But it really started out as Yehe.com, the search engine. No? It was literally a garage company set up by a couple of people with a server who wanted to make a local Yahoo. No, but eventually got acquired by another company and they transformed it into a digital agency led by the then CEO, Donald Lim. Now, Donald Lim eventually became heads of Macan, of ABS-CBN Digital, and now he's a chairman or CEO of Dentsu. So one of the biggest agency group in the Philippines. After that, I went through several agencies. I was employee number 3 of Media Contacts, which eventually became Habas. Habas is one of the biggest European ad networks in the world. Then I did a 2-year stint in Hong Kong for a company called Red Fuse Communications. Now, it's not widely known in the Philippines, but it's actually the agency of Colgate Palmolive. No, so I was handling 9 markets across Asia, from China to India to Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Philippines, Thailand, and so on. No? But eventually, I got tired of the agency life, and I felt that I needed to do something more. So I went back, and I actually, sorry, I'm skipping now. Went back and joined Google in 2015. Yeah. So let me rewind a bit, just to show you, give you some context of what I've done. No, but so I've been in the industry since 2007, and in the ad agency industry, there's always a big annual event called Ad Congress. I'm not sure if you've been to Ad Congress before. Nowadays, it's now split into two. No, there's the Ad Summit and there's the GCon. But the recurring theme of every ad congress I've joined since 2010 to 2015 is every year people announce that, hey, it's the year of mobile. No, so 2009 pa lang, back when we were using Blackberries and Nokia phones, no, people were announcing that this year is going to be the year of mobile. And if you look at all the reviews, no, from if you just Google year of mobile, since 2010 all the way to 2015, people have been saying marketers should shift their budgets to mobile. It's the year of mobile, and so on and so forth. No? And up to now, I still encounter some resistance from marketers saying, okay, mobile isn't relevant. Right? The bad news for these people is it's actually come and gone. No? Mobile is now the most preferred way of accessing the internet, bar none. If you're not doing mobile marketing, then you're not doing marketing at all, is what I have to say. And I'll talk more about this in the next 20 minutes. Okay? Going back to some background, so I've handled several brands. I really spent a lot of time with Unilever brands, in particular Sunsilk, Close Up, and so on. But I also started doing campaigns for Citibank. So Citibank is where I really honed my craft. What I do is called performance marketing. Performance marketing means doing digital marketing in order to get some sort of result, whether it's sales or leads or what have you. Okay. Um, I picked up a couple of awards on the way, but recently I went viral for talking about millennials. So something completely different. But I think that really gave me a break in terms of being able to do something else aside from what I do. Okay? So as I said, I joined Google in 2015, where I handled something called performance marketing, which I kind of described a while ago. But in a nutshell, what it is helping people who want to book flights or to get a credit card or get a loan discover my advertiser. So I was actually working with Cebu Pacific as my biggest client, with Philippine Airlines, with BDO, with BPI, and so on. So badly put, if you search for flight to Singapore or flight to Cebu or flight to Manila, or search for best credit card, I would help these companies showcase their products. I'll get to that in a bit. Okay. Sorry. Do you hear the notification? That's from my end. So I think it's shared. Sorry about that. Okay. Next up, I left Google in 2016. No? So I focus now completely on two things. So I have two businesses, completely online in e-commerce. One of this is Hair Manila. So I don't have any hair. But my wife owns a salon. And we eventually discovered that people from all over the Philippines, specifically from Mindanao and from North Luzon and some parts of Visayas, actually need premium hair care products. No? So Kerastas, L'Oreal Professional, and so on. And these weren't widely distributed on retail. So we found out a big opportunity in terms of actually selling e-commerce premium hair care. And it's not cheap. No? These are shampoos from 700 above, all the way to some SKUs which are 5,000 to 6,000 pesos. Okay? There's a
Jonathan.
huge market for it. Yes.
Yeah, Jonathan. Since this is being recorded, actually,
Yes.
can you minimize the pictures on the right side so we can see?
What pictures?
You don't see any. You don't see any.
You mean the videos? Yan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Okay, and
Sure.
then I think you can move that small box or something to.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll move it here on the upper left. Or lower left. There.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So that's just one business that I own most of. But the other one is also e-commerce. It's called boozy.ph. No? So we deliver premium liquor, so whiskey, wines, beers, etc., on demand in Metro Manila. So what that means is we get it to you in 60 to 90 minutes, as well as nationwide. But we don't do on demand in Cebu and most of Vismin yet. No? So that's coming this year. So aside from that, as Bong mentioned, I also do consulting, but not as much as my two businesses. Okay? So that's enough about me. That's really the context of where I'm coming from. And it's really going to be talking about mobile marketing and mobile from the point of view of two things. No? Number one is media, which is my specialty, and also e-commerce, which is now my new focus in terms of my businesses. Okay? So first thing I'd like to talk about is that things are changing very quickly. The common sin of most marketers is that their noses are too close to the ground and they think very insular. No? So they're only really worried about things that matter to their brand. But what they don't realize is that consumers are changing much more quickly than they think. Okay? Here's an example. So in the year 2000, if you remember what Google, the search engine, looked like back then, no? It looked like this. If you remember a desktop computer with a big monitor, and if you search for something, you just see a list of different links leading to websites that mention the keyword that you search for, right? And most of them users of Google back then lived in developed countries like the US, Canada, and most of Western Europe. If you now look 15 years later, no, if you look at how Google is now, and this is just 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it's now much more than a list of links. If you search for the word Aldab, for example, you'll see news, you'll see photos, you'll see videos on YouTube, you'll see different things, not just websites that matter to the keyword that you search for. And more importantly, two of three users of Google now come from developing countries like the Philippines or Indonesia or those in Africa, right? And these users are more and more, or mostly up to now, mobile users. So if you look at the number of searches being conducted in Google every year, there are trillions of them, and over half of those actually happen on mobile already. And this was 4 years ago almost, April 2015. And if you look at that data now, it could be 60% already. Okay? Here's a graph I usually show. If you try to remember when you first accessed the internet, no, for me it was 1996. If you look at 1994, which is over here, you'll notice that they were probably around like 100 million, 200 million internet users back then. No? But if you go fast forward to 2014, that few hundred million grew to 3 billion users. No, it's almost half the world's population. Okay, but from 2014 to 2020, which is next year, no, there will be 2 billion new internet users coming online for the first time. Okay? That's a mind-blowing fact. No? It took 20 years to get from a few hundred million to 3 billion, but will only take 6 more years to grow another 2 billion. Now, these are people who have never bought anything online, never taken an Uber or a Grab, have never done a Google search or watched a YouTube video. No? So imagine how the internet could change these people's lives in a very short period of time. No? So like for me, I remember starting out with dial-up and eventually having DSL. Then now I have fiber at home. No, it took 20 years. But imagine somebody in like Myanmar who started out with like no internet connection at all, suddenly going to LTE or even 5G. So that's what we call leapfrogging. We see leapfrogging behavior in countries in Africa, in South America, and in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, for example, where people who have zero access suddenly have super fast access to all these different things that we've taken for granted. Okay, that's the opportunity for marketers, and for me, that's really the reason why I chose to focus on e-commerce. Okay, so zooming in on the Philippines, why is the Philippines growing so fast in terms of internet connectivity? Number one is that millennials are now not kids. No, so I'm actually a Xennial, one of the first millennials who remember a time when we didn't have anything without the internet. Yeah, I'm sure most of you are Xennials or millennials too. Okay? We are now having families, buying cars, buying houses, traveling more, becoming managers in our companies and so on. No, and as millennials grow and more affluent, they also change the way that people buy. So millennials are used to having choice. What does that mean? Um, my parents, for example, when they wanted to fly somewhere, they only had Philippine Airlines. Me, if I want to go to Singapore or even Cebu, I can take Air Asia, I can take Cebu Pacific, Philippine Airlines, Scoot, and so on and so forth. No? So many different choices. Same with taking on a bank loan. No? You can go BDO, BPI, Security Bank, and all the different banks. Okay, so uh, because they have the internet, these millennials, this generation, really is able to make choices in a much more informed way than the previous generations. Okay. Second is more affordable data plans. Biggest example is free Facebook. So the Philippines is the only country, one of the only countries in the world. So there are 3 or 5 of them where internet penetration is equal to Facebook penetration. Okay, why is that? Everybody with prepaid effectively has free Facebook. Yeah, as long as you have a smartphone. Which brings me to my third point, which is that the most important part here is hardware. So globally, Google did a study where they looked at what price point people would readily buy a smartphone and upgrade from a feature phone. And that price point is $20. In 2014 or 15, Google came out with Smart came out with a plan with my phone where you get a cheap Android phone for only 800 pesos. No, so and I'm sure you can find cheaper than that if you go on secondhand sites. No, secondhand Samsung, secondhand my phones, and so on. And it becomes a no-brainer where you upgrade from a BlackBerry or a feature phone to a smartphone. Okay. So, a few more stats. If you look at the bottom box with the red box here on this slide, you'll see that the Philippines actually has a mobile population of 130 million, which is more than our population of 104 million. Okay, why is that? People have multiple SIM cards. No, they could have a tablet and a phone, or they could have dual SIM phone, or so on and so forth. Right. Secondly, if you look our active mobile social users, it's 59 million people, which is very, very close to our total internet users, which is 69 million. No? So what you'll see is that a vast majority of our internet users actually use mobile most of the time. Okay? So just to summarize the past few slides and really demonstrate the huge change in the past 20 years. No? If in 1998, my parents would tell me, don't don't get into strangers' cars, no, and don't meet people from the internet. If you look at just 2 years ago, suddenly you have the boom of Grab and Uber, where you're literally summoning strangers from the internet to get into their car, no, and it happened in just 20 years. No, that's the huge rate of change that we are experiencing in terms of technology. Okay, so why is that happening? And this is a slide or video I like showing. It's because of that little device that you keep in your pocket. It's the first thing you pick up when you wake up in the morning, and most likely it's the last thing you put down at night. Okay, you probably spend more time with it than anybody else, including your spouse or your significant other. And it's a lot of things to you. It's a email device, it's a camera, it's an alarm clock, it's a flashlight, it's a wallet, it's a heart rate monitor, and so many different things that are it's being used for. No? It's your mobile phone. Okay, what I'd like to talk about now, and because of that intro, is that we should now be talking about marketing in a mobile-only world. Okay, why the radical change? No, why not just mobile first? It's because of this realization. No, the next generation of people going online for the first time will not be doing so on a laptop or a computer. They'll be doing it on a mobile device. And that's something that you really have to think about, especially if you are used to a desktop. No, in the Philippines, maybe 70-80% of all of all internet traffic is now mobile. Okay, let that sink in. 80% of all internet traffic, including video, is already mobile. Okay, that's a huge uh, thing to realize for most traditional marketers. Okay. Okay, so I'd like to show 4 or 5 points that I'd like to uh, point out in order for you to rethink how we do mobile marketing. Okay, the first is we have to rethink how we do 360 marketing. Okay, so if you look back at how we were taught marketing in university, there was always a huge push for 360 marketing. Okay, what is that? You have to be on TV with a huge weight. You have to get several recognizable endorsers. You have to be on radio. You have to be on print. You have to be on out of home. You have to be on location and so on. No, why is that? Because we wanted to make sure that we could hit people with enough frequency, no? Meaning we show a message over and over and over again, so that when they go to the shelf, no? And this is what's called the zero moment of truth. Sorry, the first moment of truth by P&G. That's when you make a decision. Okay, I need shampoo, and the first thing that comes to mind is, let's say, Pantene. Because of that, I'll pick Pantene off the shelf and put it in my basket. Okay? And that's a psychology behind how 360 marketing was done for so long. Okay? Now, Google came up with a new way of thinking about purchase behavior, and it's called moment-based marketing. And I'll show that here. Okay? It's a slide from Google. It's called "We're Living in a World of Moments." There's a video that comes with it, but because I'm not sure if it's gonna play, I won't play it now. But you can play it when you review the deck. Okay, so just click on the YouTube link here. Okay, but what it basically says is this slide. No, when people use the internet, it's because they are doing or encountering a certain moment. Okay, what is that? Whether they are looking to be entertained. Let's say I'm stuck in waiting for the elevator in my building, no, and it's taking a while. I could read a quick Facebook or blog post, or I could read, let's say, or I could watch a video on YouTube. Okay, or let's say I'm planning a trip to Greece. The second column here. and I want to know what's to do in Greece, and I search for Greece tourism. Let's say later on, I want to be able to book a trip to Greece. And suddenly you search for travel agents near you, and you see all these travel agencies come up in Google. Or let's say you're looking for things to do on your trip to Greece. No, you search for things to do in Greece, and lastly, when it's about to buy, you search for something like hotels in Greece. Okay, what the difference is now is that you don't have to be everywhere every time. No, with 360 marketing, it was all about being everywhere every time, and you just have to think of shampoo commercials or telcos. No, they're very good at being omnipresent anywhere you go. Okay, but the good news for brands now is that you only really have to be relevant at the time people are searching for you. Okay, for example, um, let's say boozy.ph, one of my businesses. Somebody searching for liquor delivery. Okay, when they search for liquor delivery, I can guarantee in Metro Manila that my ad will come out. Okay, and that for me is super important because I only want to target people who are my customers. Okay, I'm not San Miguel, I'm not Emperador, so I don't really care about making people aware about my brand. What's important to me though is when they search for the brands that I carry, let's say a Johnny Walker or a Macallan whiskey, I want to make sure that they land on my website. So I focus on those moments only. Okay? So I'll get back to that in a bit. No, and actually helps if you watch the video. Actually, let's try playing the video. Bong, can you tell me if the video plays properly?
All right, it's playing now.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
So that's a quick video. You can play it again when I share the deck with you. But it really demonstrates why moments are so important. No? And it just harkens back to your experience as a customer. Most likely, you never made a decision just because you saw an ad several times. Most likely, you still had to research about it. No? Which credit card is best for you? Which car is best for you? And so on. And that's the moments where you want to come in with a message to say, hey, why don't you consider my company or my service? Okay? So moving on, next to the rethinking assets. No? If a while ago it was rethinking 360 marketing, now you want to rethink assets. The most important part here is this. No? If you have a website, please make sure it's mobile friendly. Okay, so like 90% of the companies I talk to, when they build a website, the designer builds it so it looks nice on a desktop. Okay, what they don't realize is that most people actually use it on a mobile phone. So just look at the BPI website, the old one. It's not upgraded yet, no. It's the new one is still on beta, which is this one. But if you look at the old site, if you go to BPI Express Online, if you open it on a mobile phone on the right side, you have to zoom in and pinch with your screen. Okay, that's a very, very bad mobile experience. Second, if the links are very small, if your finger is big and your phone is small, if you click on loans, you may end up clicking on cards, okay, which again is very annoying. No? Even more annoying, and it's a security bank, if you have a form where people have to fill up things, no, whether credit cards or let's say information to sign up for something, my advice to you is to try to fill it up on a phone. It's so hard to fill up a form on a phone because the keyboard is so small. Okay, so this conversion rate is probably super low because it's designed for desktop but expected to be filled out on a mobile device. Okay, so imagine you have to pinch and type in all the forms here, like one, two, three. There are like 20 different fields here, which you have to type in one by one on a small keyboard. No, so not a very good user experience. Okay, I have a video here. It's called Progressive Web Apps. It's a technology that now allows websites and apps to load very quickly on your phone. No, I won't cover this now because you don't have time. But please do research about this. No, it's a way of making a website load very quickly so that people will have a good user experience. No, so all I really want to talk about in this section is just make sure that whatever you're building, whether a website or an app or even a Facebook page, no, all of them should look very, very good on a mobile device. Okay, because as I said earlier, 80% of all people will access it from a mobile device. Okay, next, rethink targeting. No, and I'm gonna breeze through this quite quickly. Okay, I always get this. No, why should I, this question, why should I even bother targeting mobile users? Okay? Most traditional marketers think, okay, especially in the travel industry, that people still buy on a computer. No, when they book a flight or when they book a hotel, um, most advertisers think that they only really browse on a mobile phone, but they end up converting with either on a travel agency or on a desktop web to access a website like Cebu Pacific Air. No, I'd like to dispute that point. Okay, this is a screenshot of the Google Analytics from hairmanila.com, where you can see that 80%, no, 78% on the left side of all sessions actually come from mobile. Okay? If you look at number of transactions and even revenue, okay, it goes down a bit, but it's still majority. 65% of all transactions on my website happen from mobile. 67.5 of all revenue happens on mobile. No, so mobile users are extremely valuable, especially if you now go to iPhones. No, so this is the same data as this slide, the previous slide, but focusing on what brand of phone they're using. Now, Apple devices, Apple phones account for 39% of all traffic. But if you look at revenue, Apple devices account for 67.1% and 70% of all transactions and revenue, respectively. Okay? So, why is that? iPhone users are usually more affluent and they usually have credit cards, no, which makes them much more attractive targets for e-commerce. Okay? So there are several ad formats that are mobile specific. No? One of them is on Google. It's called an app install ad. Let's say you have an app you want to promote. There's an easy placement you can do on Google, so it appears on YouTube, on search, within other websites, and so on. No? Facebook also has similar mobile-only placements, no? Like this one you see here. Okay, this is a different topic altogether. No, but what I'm trying to show is that there are several placements that allow you to target mobile users very efficiently. Okay, next, fourth, second to the last, no, or I think this is the last one. Rethink behavior. This is the most important of the four that I'm mentioning. Okay, people again say, advertisers again say, no, why should I even advertise on mobile? I have a brand and it deserves to be blown up on a TV screen or a big billboard. Okay, and on a mobile device, if you show an ad there, it's so small, people won't remember it. Okay, again, I beg to differ. Here's a screenshot of a search ad for Nioxin. So Nioxin is a hair loss product that we sell on hairmandela.com. Okay? If you search for Nioxin on Google on desktop, what you'll see is that Hair Mandela has two sets of ads. This ad on the top is called the shopping ad, and this ad at the bottom is called a search ad. If you notice, if you do your digital marketing well, your ads fill up the whole screen practically. No, and I'm always on top. Okay? But if you go to mobile, and because the screen is so small, the screen is actually biased towards more of the advertising. No? So if you notice, the same ad, the shopping ads and the search ads now cover 100% of the screen. Okay? So what I'd like to point out here is that when people search for something, there's an even bigger chance that there's less clutter when you're doing your advertising properly, right? So uh, I usually respond, sure, mobile is a smaller screen, but you have much more share of the attention of the customer. Okay, it's like comparing a let's say a classified ad in Manila Bulletin, which is so tiny, and say compared to a theater ad, no, where you have a long ad and it gets 100% of your attention when you're in the cinema. No, it again boils down to that. No, how much share of attention do you get? And on mobile, it's much higher. Okay? So to review everything, and I'd like to show this before I show a last video, when you're doing mobile marketing, you have to rethink several things. No, number one is rethink the way that you conduct marketing as a whole. It's no longer about who has the most attention or who has the most money, who wins. Rather, it's the one who has the best targeting and the best data. Meaning, can you target moments when people are actually considering you? Okay? Second, don't even consider mobile marketing or advertising if your assets aren't mobile only. Meaning, if you're a bank, does your website support online banking properly? Third, don't be afraid to target mobile customers because they're actually very valuable, especially iPhone customers. Okay, and fourth, don't assume you know how people behave on mobile just because of your experience. No, we're seeing a new generation of customers who use the internet only on their mobile phones. No, they don't have laptops, they don't have tablets. For them, their phone is everything. They do shopping there, they do research there. I even know some people who conduct their business completely on WhatsApp. No, they manage their teams, they share files, etc., completely on a messaging app because of mobile devices. Okay, so the challenge to you as a marketer or business person is to now think, no, what if your market was mobile only? How will that change the way you do things? Okay, so with that, I'd like to show you one last video, just to show you that what I just discussed isn't just science fiction. No, if you look at the way that China uses the internet, it actually is quite scary, but it shows you the possibilities of what could be done using just a mobile device. No, so I'll play this video now. It's 6 minutes long, but I'll cut it somewhere in half.
If you are sitting in the United States or Europe right now, you've probably never used a Chinese app. But the reality is, if you want to know how the internet will develop, China, the land once known for its cheap ripoffs, has actually become a guide to the future. But for China, the internet is more like an intranet. It's largely walled off from the Western world by this incredibly complex system of filters and blocks that we call the Great Firewall. And basically, the Great Firewall blocks any foreign site the Communist Party doesn't think it can control. So that means there is no Facebook, no Twitter, no Google. Instead, what filled the internet vacuum was a generation of Chinese copycats that have grown into huge companies. So for Google, you had Baidu. For YouTube, you had Youku. For Twitter, you had Sina Weibo. And the list goes on and on. It's almost as if the Chinese internet is a lagoon as an aside to the greater ocean of the internet. And in that lagoon, there are these swamp monster apps that bear some resemblance to the creatures in the ocean, but are mutated in some ways because they evolved in a different kind of environment. But things have started to shift in the sense that before, no one outside of the lagoon really cared about the swamp monsters. But now, all of a sudden, some of the features they've developed are so amazing that Western apps are trying to copy them. And the greatest example of this is WeChat. WeChat is an example of, for lack of a better word, a super app. It's a Swiss Army knife that basically does everything for you. It's your WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype, and Uber. It's your Amazon, Instagram, Venmo, and Tinder. But it's other things we don't even have apps for. There are hospitals that have built out whole appointment booking systems. There are investment services. There are even heat maps that show how crowded a place is, be it your favorite shopping mall or a popular tourist site. The list of services goes on basically forever. But it's not the variety of things you can do on WeChat that makes it so powerful. It's the fact that they're all in one app. So why does that matter? Hypothetically, imagine you're sitting at home and one day you notice your corgi is dirty. You open WeChat, hit a few buttons, and a few hours later, a man shows up at your door with some shampoo and a big vacuum. Your dog gets cleaned and he looks great. You take a photo, you share it with your friends, and tag the dog cleaning business. You haven't left the app. Your friend who likes Hello Kitty and works a boring office job is slacking off at work and looking at WeChat. She sees the photo of your clean corgi. She decides she wants her poodle clean. She clicks the tag on your photo and orders the same service. Within seconds, the man with the big vacuum is on his way to her house. She pays him, and he's happy because he got paid instantly on WeChat. She starts chatting with you to thank you. Neither of you have left the app. While chatting, she tells you about a new hip noodle joint. She says, you have to come. It's a schlep, but you accept. She orders food while still at her desk. You order a taxi. She pays for the food. On the way to her house, the man with the big vacuum invests the money he earned from both of you into a wealth management product that's probably a little too risky. Neither of you nor the man with the big vacuum have left the app. Both of you arrive and the app tells the kitchen you're there. Your WeChat profile photo pops up on the wall. It's an old photo from the year you had that weird part in your hair. Of course she makes a comment. Your food is served. You notice your meat is a bit overcooked, so you snap a photo and post a disparaging restaurant review. You're already on your phone and you remember you still owe your friend money because she paid. You transfer her money. Neither of you, the man with the big vacuum, nor the restaurant have left the app. At the restaurant, there are no menus, there are no waiters, there is no cashier. There is only WeChat.
Okay.
By
So
rolling so many
I'll
functions,
stop this now. So it's a bit longer, but I think it shows you just how much you can do on mobile. And in countries like China, even you can see this in apps like Grab. They're now trying to be an all-in-one app where you can get a car, where you can buy things, where you can send money, and so on. And it's really changing the way that we use the internet. No, so in China, people do not use Google Chrome. Let that sink in. No, in China, when people try to book a flight or use banking or reserve a cinema slot or a restaurant booking, or even when they pay money, they do not use a mobile browser. Most of the time, they do it within WeChat. Okay, and I think personally that's the way that that's the direction that all mobile devices are going to. Eventually, I think there will be dominant ecosystems like WeChat or Grab or what have you, where people will now conduct everything. Okay, so just something to chew on. Okay, so with that, sorry I took a little longer than usual, than expected. So I think at 10 minutes over time. No, but um, that's really what I think about mobile marketing. Okay, so Bong Q&A.
Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan. Guys, can we just, I request you to just turn on your video so that Jonathan sees the class. This is a very dynamic and experienced class, and we're all in different places. So guys, let's give Jonathan our appreciation for, sorry, I haven't turned my video, appreciation for a very interesting and insightful presentation. So again,
Yeah.
guys,
Sorry, it was a bit rushed. We only had 20-30 minutes, but it's
yes,
usually
yes,
much longer.
yes. Yeah, but I think the best part is this Q&A, because now you have a chance to ask questions which are relevant to you. Okay, so Jonathan has a few more minutes because he has an appointment at 3. So guys, anybody who has a question, just turn on your mic and Jonathan will surely give a very interesting and direct to the point answer. So just anybody? And maybe you can introduce yourself or what you do to put your question in context, if that's necessary. Oh, anybody? Suddenly shy when you have an expert in front of you. Oh, Anthony.
Yes.
Hi, Jonathan. Thank you
Hi,
for that
Anthony.
very informative talk that you have given us. I just like to. I'm just curious. I'm not really into digital world right now. I'm a practitioner for security and safety in Emerson. My 11th year now, and being in this profession for 25 years. You think our infrastructure in terms of network, in terms of the kind of speed of the internet that we have, are we ready to really adapt that kind of mobile technology that you are envisioning or that you are trying to promote right now? Can we really be able to at least cope up with the kind of requirements or users or even those marketing companies uh, like what they are doing in China? Are we ready
Yes.
for that?
Good question. So I'd like to cite two examples. The first one is Indonesia. So in Indonesia, the share of internet economy of the entire GDP is double that of the Philippines. No, so sa Philippines, if you add up all of Lazada, Grab, Zalora, all the internet companies, no, that's just 1.6% of our GDP. In Indonesia, it's 3.2%, if I'm not mistaken. And the infrastructure in Indonesia is even worse than the Philippines. And they have a population 3 times as big. Okay, so if they can do it, there's no reason for us not to do it. Okay? The challenge now is I think we're solving the connectivity issue. No, with the third telco coming in, with Smart and Google coming up with free Wi-Fi across the nation within the next 2 years. No, I think connectivity is not an issue. The next challenge now would be two things. No, number one is financial inclusion, meaning is there easy ways for customers to pay, okay, and transfer money? That's the first. Second is logistics. It's so hard to get e-commerce done in the Philippines to send items from one end of the country to the other and be able to securely and make sure that you deliver what you're doing. No? So I'm sure most of you, especially if you're not in Luzon, will have horrible experiences with e-commerce just because the logistics is not up to par yet with what Indonesia is doing. Okay, so that's one. So look up the examples of e-commerce and mobile marketing in Indonesia. They are very, very good. In fact, they are, I think, 2 years ahead of everybody in the region. No, especially if you go to Jakarta and you try to order something. No, they're very, very good. Okay. But second, I'd like to point out an even more simple solution. If you're familiar with something called M-Pesa, letter M, PESA. Okay? M-Pesa is a mobile currency that started in Africa. Then what it is basically is an SMS-based wallet. So in some parts of Africa, it's too dangerous to carry physical money. Okay? Or sometimes the inflation rate is so high that it becomes like if you look at I think it's Zimbabwe, no, it becomes useless to really carry, let's say 100 pesos because tomorrow that 100 pesos can be worth 50 pesos. Okay, so a lot of telcos in Kenya, I think it started in Kenya, if I'm not mistaken, started doing digital currency, and this was like 10 years ago. No, SMS based. It's like load. It's like mobile load. It's like smart money or GCash. Okay, you are now able to store value in a mobile and SMS based wallet. Okay? If they could do it with SMS and feature based phones, there's no reason we can't do transactions and commerce. Okay, so it's all about behavior, I would say. It's not about technology, it's more about behavior. If there is money to be made, then people will change their behavior. Yeah. Pero yeah, so there's two things, Indonesia and Africa. M-Pesa and e-commerce in Indonesia. But good question. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Just to add, it's not just consumers changing behavior, it's even merchants changing behavior as far as their willingness to take risks. For example, on deliveries, to accept cash on delivery, right?
Yeah.
Just because they know that, again, there's a lot who will be included if you allow that feature of cash on delivery. I don't know the latest rates as far as bad orders are concerned for COD, but I think it's worth it because it's more and more accepted again by the merchants because they're taking the averages and they win based on the average. Is that the correct assessment, Johnson?
Yeah, 60 to 70% of all e-commerce transactions are COD based
Okay.
in the Philippines. India, it's like 80 to 90%.
Okay. And again, once you get used to uh, apps or tools like Gcash, suddenly from 0% you can shift 100% of your transactions to all of that because it's just so convenient and problem solving. So it will suddenly
Here's a fun fact.
yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yes, fun fact, please.
Here's a fun fact. In China, you have something called Alipay, Alibaba. So they have an Alipay wallet. No? Did you know that Alipay is now the biggest bank in China, one of the biggest banks in China, because they started offering interest rates. So if you're familiar with Gcash, I think Gcash is offering a 1%, 2% interest rate if you keep money with them. No, they don't say it's interest, but effectively it's interest. It's you're growing your cash. No, in China they have that as well. So instead of putting your money in a mutual fund or a UITF, there's an option for you to keep it in your wallet where it grows at a certain interest rate. Okay, so again, it's the way that mobile and technology is redefining how business is conducted.
Mhm. And just to share on mobile, with Touch ID more and more possible using smartphones, you don't even need to put in passwords, and because of the one-time pins, you just feel so confident that the transaction is secure.
Yeah.
The internet, you're not.
Just to share,
Yes.
I just so there are two online banks, mobile banks now that just launched this year. One of them is CIMB, other is ING. So I
Yes.
just signed up for ING. You don't have. I created a savings account without even going to a bank. Now, it's been around for some time in Southeast Asia, but you just take a picture of yourself with a selfie with a passport or whatever, and eventually you can now start depositing checks just by taking a picture of your check front and back. Then it earns 2% interest on a savings account, which is higher, much higher than a time deposit. Okay? And there's zero transfer fees to other banks. So imagine I don't have to line up at BPI anymore because BPI takes me an hour to deposit one check. Now just take a picture and next day it's cleared. I can transfer it to my savings account and BPI to pay my bills and so on. But more importantly, it earns me 2% interest rate compared to a 0.25% in a savings account in a normal bank.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. 8x return. Diba? It's a no-brainer.
Just to comment on and
Sure.
follow up with a question. I came from Ethiopia, a neighborhood country from Kenya, so I know
Yes.
did in Kenya. It's a very good payment system,
Yes.
which allowed those who don't have a banking coverage to have a payment system. So they use their mobile to transact and to trade their crops and their cattle with urban dwellers. So it's a very good breakthrough that happened in Africa. But with the growth of the mobile technology and with all this transformation into mobile,
Yes.
how do you see the digital currency technologies, which we hear coming up, like the bitcoins and others, affecting this technology in the future?
So first of all, thank you for giving your feedback on M-Pesa. I've always heard about it in theory, but not from somebody who's familiar with it. No? But I'm familiar with one of the tech companies here in the Philippines who helped set up the M-Pesa network when 10 years ago, I think, back in Kenya. But yeah, to your question about cryptocurrency. Okay? So it I think you can't talk about cryptocurrency without separating the technology from the speculation. Okay? So me, like most people, lost some money in the Bitcoin crash of January 2018. Okay, but it's because of speculation. Speculation. There was a bubble, and looking back, it was a bubble. There were a few enterprising individuals who helped pump and dump the price by hyping Bitcoin as an investment. Okay? personally, I don't think Bitcoin can recover unless there is a certain growth in people using it for actual purchases. No, until the point where I can buy coffee with Bitcoin, it's not going to increase in usage. And if the usage doesn't increase, the value won't increase. Right? Similar to USD. Okay? USD's value is so high because the trade is very, very, like, everybody practically accepts USD. Even Cambodia or Vietnam accept USD in some locations. No. Okay. That being said, the technology behind Bitcoin is called blockchain. Blockchain is a way of decentralizing transactions in such a way that you don't need a central authority. And I believe in that. Uh, if you could clear checks without the BSP, the central bank, waiting for you to actually say this check is cleared, no? If I could sell a property without going through the BIR, the Internal Revenue Service, or the what do you call this, civil registry, okay, and both buyer and seller are guaranteed that one is authentic and the second will receive their money, I think that's a very big way of changing the way that people do business. So blockchain, yes, specifically for certain things, certain verticals, like number one is real estate. Okay, what if, and I think this is something that's going to develop this year. No, what if you could issue a security token? A security token is basically ownership of an asset or a future stream of cash flow. Okay, similar to a stock or a rate or a REIT or a fractional ownership of an asset. No? Suddenly, I'm not bound by liquidity. Suddenly, if I invest in a company, as long as there's a willing seller, somebody can buy my stock. Second, I'm not limited by geolocation. Okay? If you invest in a Filipino company, you have no choice but to buy stock in the Philippine Stock Exchange. Okay? Suddenly, if I have, let's say, I'm setting up a new condo, or I'm selling a work of art, or I'm setting up a new startup, using security tokens based on blockchain, essentially I can now do fractional ownership of assets and sell that to people all around the world as long as they're willing to pay my price, right? So in theory, and I think a lot of this depends on the SECs of different countries. No, I think blockchain is a very solid technology to help assets and wealth and value uh, be transacted over like several markets to create a global market. No, but Bitcoin per se, Ethereum per se, Ripple per se, not too sure. It depends on the adoption and how big their network is. No? So caveat emptor, right? I mean, do your due diligence when you choose to invest. But for me, I'd rather build on the technology.
Okay. Guys, I'm very conscious of Jonathan Sawson's time. I'd just like to get Jonathan's reaction to this insight of mine or theory of mine,
Sure.
that digital tools, digital technologies are changing so fast. Basically, what we have to do is first to know that they're there. Just be aware that they're there. For the simple ones, we want to use them, to apply them, to maybe do it ourselves, but we can never expect to be experts at it. So if you need mobile experts or Google AdWords experts, don't try to do it yourself. It's just too long. It's just too expensive to learn from your own mistakes. So any reaction to that thinking, Jonathan?
Yes and no. So for technical stuff, development, I don't do it myself. No,
Okay.
so I don't know. I don't have the time to study new languages from scratch. No, I only know my basic HTML. I don't program. I know what I learned in high school and college. No, so I make sure that I work with the best developers in the field. Okay. However, when it comes to advertising, Facebook, Google, Twitter, or all these different things, usually the cost of entry is so cheap, or the cost of entry is so small, like you can set up a Facebook campaign with a credit card, that it becomes negligible in terms of opportunity cost. No? So it actually beg to differ in terms of marketing. There is an opportunity to do it yourself, and a lot of the biggest e-commerce sellers that I know, no, some of them started out with an experiment, and over time they learned it on the go, and eventually they hired people once it became too big. No, but if you're starting out with a small business, it becomes more expensive to hire outsource than to try it yourself. So, yes and no. For technical, yes, hire the best. For marketing, it's cheap to try.
Okay. So you're commenting based on doing Facebook marketing, which actually this class will be doing next week. They'll be reporting
Yes.
their own Facebook campaigns. But even Google AdWords, would you consider that as too technical
No.
for the average Joe?
Yes. There's a new website that Google launched called AdWords Express. So it's a very simplified version of AdWords where it's similar to Facebook now. It's not just marketed. It's not Google isn't promoting it as well as they should, but it's focused towards small businesses who do not have the time or the technical capability to do AdWords completely, the professional way. Right? So AdWords Express, it's a site where you just type in your website's address and pick which vertical you're in, like hair salons or hardware, and it will write your ads for you.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
yeah.
it, it's becoming simpler and simpler over time.
Okay. Okay. And again, Google set it up just so to get more people to do it themselves, right?
Yes.
Just to
And
include.
it uses machine learning to automate things. So, if 10 years ago, people had to write every single keyword, every single ad, okay, Google now has artificial intelligence or more of machine learning so that Google can scan your website, pick out the keywords you want to advertise on, write the ad for you, and do the targeting for you as well. So, all you have to do is put your credit card in, make sure the ads are accurate, and then launch it.
Okay. Okay.
So
Uh,
the performance won't be as good as if a professional was doing it, but it's so cheap that it doesn't hurt to try.
all right. All right. Again, guys, let's just take a nice last picture with Jonathan so that we can remember this moment. So can you just set up your videos, Jonathan? We take a print screen of the of the page just
Sure.
to get everybody in. So can you set up so that you're ready to wait? Let me just set up. Okay, ready, set, smile. All right, guys, let's give Jonathan again our round of applause
Thanks,
online.
Bong.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sure.
And I'm sure if they need you, they will find you somewhere.
Yes. So I'll send the deck link to you so
Okay.
that my email address is on the very last slide. If
Okay.
you have any questions that I can help out with, I'll be sure to reply.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks,
Have a
Bong.
good day.
See you
Bye.
around. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, let me just save the picture. Wait. Class pick to Jan 12. Okay. So, what to do? Okay. Sorry, there was an unplanned flight delay. I think I posted the picture of the 3.5 hour flight delay on Viber. It's something that you don't plan for. If you plan your life expecting 3.5 hour delays, then your life will never go through, right? So I thought I had enough margin of error, but again, that's past. So anyway, I was able to get Jonathan for today. Peter actually invited Shopee, but suddenly Shopee's not available today. I was requesting them if it's possible to show the recorded version of their interview for next week if we have time, or if not, we can just post it and we can view it at our own time. Now, the other resource speaker that we invited on mobile marketing actually emailed me the version of her recorded Zoom meeting, and it now works. But again, I'll postpone showing it to you. It's a 15-minute video um, uh, until we sort out our time for today. Okay, so I think there are four people up to share their costless sessions for today. That's top priority, just to make sure that. Do I recall who was first up? Anybody remember? Okay, Wells. Probably I'd recommend, since we started at two, we'll start with Wells first, and then after Wells and the discussion, we can then go for the break. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Wells, can you try to screen share right now? You're no longer in a car, so yeah, we're seeing your screen share, and it's about content marketing. Wells, can you try your audio? Wells.
Unmute.
I just opened my audio.
Okay.
I'm just gonna try to share again. I'm actually in school right now.
In Rockwell?
Yes.
Okay. I'm in Cebu campus. Okay.
All
Yes.
right. So, hi guys. Today I'm going to talk about content marketing, which is basically the topic for chapter 9 of Kotler's book that we are reading, Marketing 4.0. So, what is content marketing? Content marketing, as defined by Wikipedia, is basically a form of marketing focused on creating, publishing, and distributing content for a targeted audience online. So, basically, the content is actually could be made out of videos or articles or any form of digital format. So, what is currently the surfacing trend? So, we all know about the traditional media, and these traditional media are actually one way to many broadcasting. So how does that actually work? Um, Traditional media are basically mediums of communication of advertising to consumers, for which the consumers do not really have a chance to immediately provide feedback to the endorser or the advertiser. So for example, billboards along EDSA. So say for example a Coke billboard is there, the consumers would actually see it, and then they would actually become aware of that particular product, but they would not actually be able to provide immediate feedback. And what they would actually consume is what the company would want to actually communicate to their consumers. But right now, the surfacing trend is that we are actually transitioning to the digital platform, which is the internet. And the internet provides a very perfect space for interactive conversation between companies and consumers. Therefore, there is such thing as the co-creation of content, or the co-creation of what the consumers would actually want to consume. It's not a one way thing anymore, that the company dictates what the consumers would consume. So, interactive conversations between companies and consumers online have proven to be more effective and efficient. However, both traditional and digital platforms should serve a complementing role, meaning both are still relevant touch points, and no one particular medium is made to replace the other. Instead, it is made to complement the other, since both could be possible touch points for the target consumers. But the truth is, customers nowadays do not always trust the traditional medium. Why? It's because they would always think that the companies would just lure them to actually purchase their particular products. But right now, consumers are actually more informed in terms of decision making whether to purchase a product or not. And how do they actually become more informed? Because of the online platform, they would now find people to ask in terms of recommendation. So they now find user generated content as more credible. So what are some examples of user generated content? So some user generated content could be reviews of products that we are actually purchasing. Well, based on experience, I would not actually purchase a product with a low rating in terms of Lazada. Like say for example in Lazada there's just a 1-star rating for a particular product. I would not purchase that. And then I would actually review what I would actually read on the reviews that the other customers have for that particular product before actually purchasing. And so therefore, I become informed on whether a particular product is really effective or not, or is really good in terms of helping me achieve whatever objective I have for purchasing that product. And so, aside from online consultation from other online users, consumers also would often ask the recommendation of families and friends. So that way, the purchasing of a product becomes um, what do you call this, dependent on the advocacy of other people. So it was argued that content is the new advertisement and hashtag is the new tagline. However, there is actually a difference between the two. So content is what the consumers actually want to know or use or achieve to achieve their personal or professional goals, while advertisement is what companies want to convey to their consumers. So content is basically the expanded truth regarding a product. So advertisements are basically, well, they just actually indicate some taglines or the bottom line idea regarding a particular product, but they do not offer additional information regarding that particular product. Hence, that is where content actually comes in. Say, for example, you actually saw an advertisement on TV, but that commercial is just a 30-seconder, but you could actually Google or go online to read more about that particular product and get more information regarding that. So, what is important is that for us to be able to do effective content marketing, we need to create original content in house, meaning it should not be coined from any other website, it should be original. Um, and also, it could actually come from curated information from external sources to give that particular content some credibility. In terms of, of distribution, marketers should be very much aware in terms of selecting the right mix of channels to be able to target to be able to communicate with their target market. And then this would be coupled with activities for both pre-production of content and post-production. So later on, we'll go through the different steps on how to create an effective content marketing campaign. So here are the 8 steps. I'll just browse through these steps and then I'll go through it one by one through an example case study later. So the first one is goal setting, and then followed by audience mapping, content ideation and planning, and content creation. And then for the fifth one, it's content distribution, amplification, marketing evaluation, and marketing improvement. So just a simple case study application that I encounter at work is the Lucky Me Supreme case. So I hope everyone is familiar with Lucky Me Supreme. It's actually the cups and bowls segment of Lucky Me. I'll show some pictures later on. So let's go through it. So goal setting first. What is our goal? So basically, when we set goals, this is more often than not sales related or market share related. So for Lucky Me Supreme, our goal, of course, is to own a large share of the market pie. But currently, our direct competitor, Nissin Cup Noodles, is at 45% market share, while our Lucky Me Supreme is only at a meager 29%. And so the goal for this campaign should be to increase market share to 35% through tapping strategic touch points to communicate with our and engage our PTM or primary target market. So in audience mapping, we ask the question, who is our audience and what are their attributes? So for specifically Lucky Me Supreme, our audience are college students and young working adults. And where are they found? They are actually found in colleges and universities, offices, and other workplaces. And their age is about 18 to 35 years old, belonging to classes C, D, and E. And their behavior is they live extremely busy lives and they value hyper convenience. In terms of internet usage, this is also relevant to know given the campaign is engaged into digital marketing. Internet usage is their access through mobile phones and through desktops and computers and laptops. So now what can we draw from this audience mapping? First, by knowing the PTM and their age, we actually are able to identify the particular demographic we would want to target for Lucky Me Supreme. Second, where are they found? By knowing where they are found, we identify also the relevant touch points for below the line activities, aside from, of course, the above the line channels that we can actually tap. By knowing their behavior, we are also able to know how we are to market our products and what we can offer them that will be of value to them. And then for internet usage through mobile phones, according to Rappler Fast Facts regarding internet usage in the Philippines, Filipinos actually spend about 3.2 hours of their day in accessing mobile phone content, while 5.2 hours is spent on computers and laptops. And 47% of that time of internet usage is spent on social media, 29% on online shopping, 19% on videos, and 15% for online and mobile games. And because of those facts, we are able to also identify the distribution channel for which our digital marketing content may be placed. So the third step is content ideation and planning. And here we ask, what's the idea we want to communicate and how do we want to execute it? What story do we want to create for the brand? So given the facts that we were able to identify earlier regarding our target market and regarding our audience and the relevant channels for which our content may be distributed, we could actually form this story for Lucky Me Supreme. So from merely just being another, just like any other uh, instant noodles in a cup, we have transitioned the communication of Lucky Me Supreme into Go Cups. So it has already become Lucky Me Go Cups, hyping on the hyper convenience trend that is observed among the target market. So the main brand idea became from just being just any other instant cup noodles to being to actually highlighting and communicating the hyper convenient feature of the product, which says Go Cup. You could actually bring it anywhere with you or eat it anywhere. So, given that idea in terms of content creation, we ask now what content would consumers find valuable and relatable? How do we communicate the hyper convenience feature? So, this is the latest campaign for Lucky Me Supreme. So, aside from the Go Cup, it highlighted sarap kalad ka rin, meaning you could actually take it anywhere with you. So again, hyping on the hyper convenient feature of the product. So this has been launched, like if I'm not mistaken, 3 to 4 months ago, and this is still an ongoing campaign. So in terms of content distribution, relative to what we have seen in the audience map a while ago, we identified that it is relevant to tap the young working adults and college students who go online and are actually present on social media and other channels like YouTube and whatnot. So here's an example of how we distributed the content. So we have three types of content: the one that is owned, the one that is paid, and the one that is earned. So for that, for the owned one, it is actually owned by the company and the content is actually regulated. While for the paid, these are the channels paid for by the company to advertise, whether traditional or digital. While the one that is earned is the actually amount of advocacies, whether through word of mouth or online shares. So currently, Lucky Me has actually a YouTube channel. And of course, we evidently see the other ATL and BTL activities in terms of paid advertisements. And the earned ones, there are several shares for the particular videos that we have actually created, but I haven't particularly tracked that just yet. I don't have available information for that. But in terms of content amplification, how we can we further create noise for the brand? This is what the company has done. It has actually tapped influencers. It maximized the Lucky Me YouTube channel. It engaged consumers through animated posts and videos on Facebook, and it created buzz through bringing up topic conversations online. So, what's important though in exercising content amplification is that the message should always be consistent to brand image and personality. So, therefore, whatever activities we actually conduct, whether in marketing or in sales, is always subject to the approval of the brand managers. So, in terms of content marketing evaluation, we ask the questions: is the content visible, relatable, searchable, actionable, and shareable? So, what are the metrics that we actually use to be able to measure First, relatability. So for relatability, we use page views per visitor, which is actually the number of pages people visit while on a content website. Bounce rate is the percentage of people who leave after visiting just one page from the website, while time on site is the time that is spent in the website. For visibility, we do impressions. We actually have impressions as metrics, which is how many times the content is actually viewed. For unique viewers, it is the number of persons who saw the content. And for brand recall is the percentage that of those viewers that were able to recall the brand name. For action metrics, we use click-through rate, which is the ratio of the number of clicks and the number of impressions to the number of impressions, and other call to action conversion rates, like share ratio, which is the number of shares over the number of impressions, and engagement rate, which is the number of followers over the share actions that were conducted. In terms of search metrics, we have the search engine positions, and search engine referrals. The search engine position is basically content position on a search engine when looked up through certain keywords, while referrals refer to how many visits came from the search engine results. How many visits to the website came from the search engine results. And then in terms of content marketing evaluation, here's an example of what we were able to see on the latest campaign of the Sarap Kalad Ka Rin campaign. So we have several videos up on YouTube, and this is the time lapse since the release of the video. And we could actually observe that for the longer videos, there are more views, meaning that this actually just shows that consumers are being even more curious regarding the brand. So they would want to actually check on the longer videos and know more about it. And at the same time, they love the story that went with marketing the Lucky Me Supreme, and not just the short um, 7 seconder videos. So the
Uh,
most yes,
well,
prof. Yes,
just
prof.
quick question. Was it because of Alex Gonzaga being on the 57, or she was on all the even the short ones?
She was on all, even the short ones, prof.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, yep. So this is an example of how we actually evaluated it, and what would actually be a good content for our consumers, or what would be a relatable content for them. And then for the seventh step, which is content marketing evaluation, how did the campaign help the brand in terms of identified metrics? So we identify its effect on sales and also effect on market share. And we also identified which activities were effective and go for replication. So this is more of also giving us an idea on where to invest more next time, given the metrics on effectiveness of campaign. But since this is an ongoing campaign, the evaluation is still pending up until the 6th month. So we are on the 4th month now. So we are trying to gauge it on a 6-month level, because the market share report of Nielsen will come out by March, end of Q1. And then for content marketing improvement, this is where we ask what else can we improve in terms of our approach. So we evaluate the gaps that could be addressed. What else can we improve based on the recurrent trends? And we also ask, and we also have to keep close watch of our consumers, since their behavior is rather volatile. And we also check on the most effective channels to be able to identify where our investments should actually go in succeeding marketing campaigns. So as a conclusion, specifically for this particular product, we learned about the doorknob type of customer path, and that is the nature of the products of Mondenisin. So the customers that we are tapping on have high commitment to purchase, low curiosity level, because the nature of our product is with low prices, often purchased based on impulse. And therefore, availability is crucial because of low affinity. So the challenge now to marketers or to us as Mondonesian is how to build and sustain affinity towards our key consumers to encourage repeat purchase and inclusion of Lucky Me Supreme Go Cup in the market basket through tapping market channels, relevant market channels, both digital and traditional, to be able to communicate to our PTM. So it's actually also identifying the right channels and touch points for our brand to be able to consistently provide the trigger to actually purchase. Since consumers have low affinity towards these type of products, um, I think that to be able to sustain consumption, the trigger should always be there, whether through digital or traditional medium. And of course, that is coupled with ensuring availability inside the stores to be able to serve the demand that we are able to create. And so for this particular chapter, I think that's all. Thank you guys for listening. Any questions?
Wells, can I
Yeah.
request you to go back a couple of slides to where the times are, the 7 and 57 seconds?
Yes, Prof. Here.
Yeah, this is to the average person. This is counterintuitive, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
longer times had the more views. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how do
Mm-hmm.
you how do you explain this based on your analysis of the campaigns?
Well, I think, Prof, that the ones with the longer times are highly relatable and actually shared more in terms of the number of shares.
Mhm.
It's because, well, Alex Gonzaga is very popular in the vlogging world. So I also think that it also becomes a supplement to the 30-second video that is being shown as a TV commercial. So this is supplementing content for them for the uh, kasi, we have a commercial that is only 30 seconds, but the supplementing what do you call this? The supplementing content is in the YouTube. So I think it also helped create more clicks for the longer ad, like specifically for the 57 seconder, because there's a clincher on the shorter version,
Uh-huh. Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing this because this is a good opportunity to say again that
Mm-hmm.
the content really matters.
Yes, bro.
People want to share stories, and the 57 there might have a better story to tell or more complete story to tell, such that you're willing to share or it touched an emotion that so struck that you again wanted other people to have that same emotion, and that
Yes, bro.
may not be possible with the 7 seconder. It's so
Yes, bro.
direct that oh, okay, yeah, it's over before you felt anything. Thank you for sharing, guys.
Yes,
Any
bro.
questions to Wells? No question. Just turn on your mic if you have a question for Wells. Okay. Wells, thank you
Okay,
for.
bro.
Who's this?
Thank. Hello.
Yes. Anybody with a question? Hearing none. Thank you, Wells, for sharing. Very good presentation.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Prof.
Okay. So, guys,
Thank you, Prof.
yes, thanks. Guys, I think it's just three of the class still to present, but I just like to build on the fact that Jonathan Joson, who came earlier, is a very what experienced speaker. He's been invited to many events, classes, etc. But I can say that many of the members of this class, now, if you look back at your presentations, you can hang toe to toe, meaning you can be the same in the same platform, the same conference where Jonathan Joson is a guest speaker, and you can be the next guest speaker. So it's probably your first what first digital 20-minute session, but it's really very good. So thank you for contributing your best towards sharing to the rest of the class. Okay. Now, is there somebody missing? Peter joined. I know Binoy is sick. You notice anybody who's not here or who's coming a bit later, so that I can check out the announcements. Anyway, I have the class picture. What we'll do right now is we'll do a 15-minute break. Right after the break, if I think you're as complete as possible, we'll discuss first. We'll discuss first. Oh no, so that we can break the monotony or the sequence. Who's the next one? Who's doing a Kosla? Okay, Frances? Can we have you first right after the break so you can try to test your audio and your screen share? And then after Frances does her COSLA, we'll discuss basically the activity for next week. So if you have questions about the Facebook marketing plan, we'll do that after Frances' report. Okay, so guys, thank you. We are in the 15-minute break. See you later. Bye.
Prof, your voice is breaking up.
Yes, sir. We didn't catch what you just said, Prof. I think we lost him this time, Sol.
Yeah, let's just wait for him to reconnect. I think Cebu campus has always had poor internet.
You been there, Wells?
No, because my previous online class, I had a classmate from Cebu and he's always being cut off.
Sorry, I missed the question. Was there a question or a comment?
Sir, we didn't catch what you said. We lost you about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yes, Prof, can you repeat your announcements? Yeah.
Yes, sir. And it's showing that you were on mute.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Because wait. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Speaking on mute doesn't work, right? you have to turn on your mic. So we'll have Francis report right after the break. We'll have a 15-minute break. Then after Francis reports, we'll discuss your questions and the way we'll do the final activity, which is the Facebook marketing plan. All right. I didn't hear you right away because I'm using a headset, and I kind of heard some noises on the headset and was wondering why you were there. So anyway, that's what we'll do. Just 15 minutes, and then we'll be back to hear Francis and then discuss the Facebook marketing. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. All right, Francis. You can you try screen share?
Yep, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Just let me know if you can already see my screen.
Yes, we can, and you're coming in very clear. So
Okay.
just get ready with your own timer for 20 minutes, and then once you're ready, we can go.
For 20 minutes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Wait. 20 minutes. Okay. So I think we can already start. So good afternoon, classmates.
Good afternoon.
Actually, my report is pre-recorded. And after the presentation, it will be the question and answer. We can already start now.
Francis, we are not hearing any audio.
I'm sorry. Sir, you can't hear the audio right now.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the fact that you're wearing a headset or something might be affecting how we're hearing the presentation. So anyway, reset the time, just try it. I'll give you ano, if I hear sound.
Okay. Sir, can you hear it now?
No, not yet.
So you can already hear it now, sir?
No.
Not yet? Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know with the rest. Guys, can you open your chat?
No, we cannot.
Nope.
Can't hear.
None. None.
Yeah, we
Let's
cannot hear it
Try
also.
in the options for the sharing. There's an option to choose the speakers that you would use in the Zoom.
Okay, I'll check it. More.
Okay, while Francis is checking it, I'll just segue. Well, Francis, just continue trying to figure it out. I just found from waiting 3.5 hours on a plane that's not moving that digital can actually prevent world wars. Why do I say that? No, I stood up a couple of times in that 3.5 hour waits, and I saw all people, no exception except those who were sleeping, on their phones, on their tablets, on
Sir,
anything.
can you hear that?
No, Francis.
I'm just testing the speaker right now. Just let me know if you can hear it.
Yes, we'll let
Cannot hear it yet.
Oh,
Francis. It's asking you to do the live, the live presentation. What do you think? Hello, Francis.
Tapos from there, there's a view options on top, I think.
view options on top.
Nung Zoom.
Oo. Yun ba yung dun sa ano? Select a speaker?
Yeah.
Oo. Naririnig nyo na to ngayon?
Mahina siya.
Parang nandun naman
Parang
mahina.
meron, pero mahina.
Mahina.
Mahina. Ito, lalakasan ko pa siya. I'll try again.
Frances, I don't think it will my connection is so
I'll just discuss it.
yeah.
But then,
Yeah. I think that's the your blessing for today. You're being asked to do it live. So yeah, once you're ready, we can restart. Hello, Francis. Hello? 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 Hello, guys? Are you there?
Yes, Prof.
Oh, yeah. The
Hello,
signal in
Francis.
the satellite campus is,
Prof, I'm here. Yes, Prof.
yeah. Anyway, I switched to my phone internet, so it's probably more stable. But Francis, are you okay?
Yep, sir. Can you hear me clearly now, sir?
Yes, yes, you're clear.
Okay, so I do apologize for the technicalities, but
No,
anyway, I'll be sharing.
needed. That's part of.
Yep, I'll be sharing. It's okay. So I'll be sharing the file to you guys. So since it's already pre-recorded, you can probably check it on your end. So for
We can hear
today,
you.
I'm sorry.
You're coming in clear, Francis. That's
Okay,
yeah.
so for today, I'll be discussing chapter 10. So it's omni-channel marketing for brand affinity. Going to the next slide, so I wanted to discuss what is omni-channel marketing. So omni-channel marketing is actually the practice of integrating multiple channels to create a seamless and consistent customer experience. And it also requires organizations to break channel silos and unify their goals and strategies. With this, companies or brands will need to use combined efforts of multiple channels. Multiple channels meaning they use online and offline channels. And as per the survey by the International Data Corporation, found that omni-channel buyers typically achieve 30% higher lifetime value compared to single buyer um, channels. And then on the next slide, I would be discussing the omni-channel trends. So for the omni-channel trends, first will be for focusing on mobile commerce in the now economy. So as we all know, majority of the people now use mobile phones for communication and e-commerce. No other channels beat mobile phones when it comes to proximity to customers since it is most personal and convenient channel up to date. I found out, like according to Google's country manager, e-commerce is actually growing very fast in the Philippines with 65% of the population online and using their mobile devices as a remote control for commerce and entertainment. As more people go online, internet speeds pick up and more merchants like Lazada, Alibaba, and Shopee enter the market, e-commerce has the potential to become a $10 billion dollar industry. This was also actually discussed a while ago with the presentation of um, our speaker, Jonathan Joson, that the future is now moving towards mobile technology since most of the people not only rely on their laptops right now or their desktops for everything, but mostly since they have their mobile phones with them every time, they use their mobile phones. Okay, the next trend will be bringing web grooming into offline channels. So web grooming is actually a slang for the customer practice of researching products online before buying them in a physical store. The term is often used to contrast with another consumer practice called showrooming. Showrooming later I'll be discussing on the next trend. It's actually wherein shoppers first try out the products they want in the physical store before buying them online. Sample for this for web grooming is actually the sensor technologies or the RFIDs, meaning the radio frequency identification tags, in which product details are easily offered to customers instantly upon tagging. This can easily promote purchase if one scan can already be provided on the virtual baskets via machine-to-machine connectivity, or what we call Internet of Things. So in this one, as a lot of products are already using RFIDs right now, not only products, like for example, if you go to grocery stores, some of the grocery stores, they have RFIDs offered on a per aisle, wherein you can scan the product and then you can easily know the price that you are buying. I think I've seen this, if I'm not mistaken, before in Shopwise, but unfortunately the Shopwise near here in Quezon City was already shut down, and I think it was already bought out by Rustans now. I'm not sure if other Rustans they have price scanning, but other than groceries doing the price scanning, there is actually a bar. It was owned by some friends. It's in Poblacion. They call it Z Hostel. Wherein at the rooftop, before you can easily go to the bar, you can purchase an RFID tag in a minimum purchase of 300, and then that's what you use when you buy your drinks at the rooftop. So those are examples of RFIDs. It was also mentioned for this trend that not all products are easily available online, and through the product details, they can search for a physical store for the product itself, where they can purchase if once convinced that a purchase decision is needed. So when you see the product details, once you scan it, if it's not available in the physical store, sometimes you can opt for other product details wherein they can locate on what store it is currently being offered. They usually do this when you go to retail shops, like for example for Uniqlo. When you ask specific product from the salesperson, they normally scan the tag, and if they can't find it in the shop, they would tell you where exactly in Uniqlo you can find it, like, or where it's available. So those are samples for web rooming into offline channels. The last trend for omni-channel trends will be bringing showrooming into online channels. So showrooming is actually the practice of visiting a store or stores in order to examine a product before buying it online at a lower price. This approach allows customers to shop and explore products in physical spaces, utilize their senses, and have human-to-human connections while shopping. It brings the best of offline experiences to online channels. So sample for this is actually IKEA. So for IKEA, they normally have warehouse where you go there, and then you normally see all the furnitures, or even small things that you want to buy. It's showcase on a per division basis, where it starts like with your living room, and then you go to the bathrooms, or sometimes like they also have the ones for bedrooms, and then the catalogs are also available there under stores, and you can easily purchase that on the spot after. So this is a sample for showrooming into online channels. If For the next one, I'll be discussing omni-channel experience. So for omni-channel experience, omni-channel experience is mobile devices serves as the bridge that connects the digital world with the offline world. Actually, for this one, it's the omni-channel experience and then tied up with big data analytics. So as we have mentioned a while ago, that mobile devices is currently used in your everyday world, marketers can now view a seamless picture of customers via online and offline channels through customer data that captures customer demographics, journey patterns into offline channels, browsing patterns into online channels, and social media activities, product and promotion references, and transactions. So how this help the marketers into obtaining the data that they normally get from the omni-channel experience. This data can help them boost up their marketing and advertising campaigns to their targeted market and can optimize channel operations as well. The optimal maximization of the use of data analytics can help in strategizing not only brand awareness but also increase in target market and sales. Okay, so moving to the next slide. The next slide is actually the step-by-step omni-channel marketing, in which we have 3 steps. But before going through this, I wanted to discuss first what is the meaning of touch points and channels across. Touch points and channels, since you can almost see within all 3 steps that these 2 words are actually used for the steps. So for touch points, actually what we have is this is defined as every direct and indirect customer interaction, be it online and offline, with the brand and or other customers in relation to the customer path. It is usually described as an actual action that customers take when they are in each stage of the 5 A's. 5 A's, what we have discussed before, are the aware stage, appeal stage, act stage, advocate stage, and what we have discussed in the previous ones that we use in digital marketing. As for the meaning of channel, it is one of any online and offline intermediaries used by the customers to internet with a brand. This is normally used in communication and sales channels. Okay, so going back to the step by step, the first one or the first step is map all possible touch points and channels across the customer path. So as mentioned, since we have the 5 A's, you need to do all your online and offline channels to map out in terms of the gearing towards your customer path. And then for the second step, you have to identify the most critical touch points and channels so you can at least focus on what are the specific ad campaigns or marketing campaigns that you would need to schedule, since your priority are the critical touch points and channels. So if your brand, for example, is not heavy for now in online channel, you might want to gear up into doing your marketing campaigns and ad campaigns using Facebook or Instagram. So at least your visibility for online channels will be increased. And at the same time, it will create brand awareness, and it will also gear up your sales to increase as well. For the last step, it will improve and integrate the most critical touch points and channels. So normally for the last step, it's just formalizing everything and on how to integrate your critical touch points and channels, not only this one, but also the less critical ones. So at least on how you can maximize and how to move towards your strategies into omni-channel marketing. Actually, that's the end of the presentation. I have explained further with the presentation on the recording, so you can check that on your end, as I can be able to share this file to you, and I also posted it on our Facebook. To answer the reflection questions, question number 1, what are the most important customer touch points and channels for your business? So with my chosen brand for the Nuo, the most important customer touch points for now is both online and offline. Online, since most of the purchases are done on their website, and offline, well, for some occasions and events, they are invited to have pop-up stores where buyers can actually view and purchase their products. With channel, communication is the most important for now to reach all their customers and convey the messages, especially for the advocates, normally in which these are the environmental enthusiasts. Okay, I think my timer is up. Just let me finish the question number 2. Will that be okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So for question number 2, have you aligned the channels to support a seamless and consistent experience? It's a yes for the Nuo. I have aligned both channels offline and online to increase consistent experience, focusing on brand awareness and sustainable living consciousness to the society. So that ends my presentation. If you have question and answers, I'm sorry, if you have questions, feel free to ask me now. The floor is already open.
Yeah, Francis was saying, if you have questions, please answer it yourself. Uh, just a joke. Guys, any questions for Francis? Any questions? Um, Again, the essential thing that hopefully is no longer a big argument to us is the necessity of being present where your customers will be. And right now, these are both online and offline. So there has to be consistency, synergy, and focus on where your customers are. Um, so, Francis, thank you. Thank you for sharing your COSLA. Um, I'll- can you stop your screen share, Francis, so we can see everybody else? Thank you. Okay. So now this is the most awaited portion because this is the only major thing that you have to do before this. It's so fast, right? It's the seventh session now. It's the eighth session next week, and then that's it. It's a very quick um, thing. So given the limited time that we had together, the culmination of all of that will be next week. Can I see a show of hands who have actually spent on their Facebook campaigns? Have you spent already? If you have, all right. So is that all of it, or do you have some more left for the week? So who are still spending this week on their campaigns?
I have 600 pesos remaining, Prof.
Yeah. Okay, you don't have to consume the 1,000, guys. It's just a limit. You know? So if you're happy with what you spent and you learned enough, then that's good to go. All right. First, I'd invite questions later, but first I'd like to share my screen and show you what I'm looking for as far as output and content for next week. So let me just. Okay. So uh, whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, this is the most dominant platform where you can actually reach, or for many, reach their customers without having to go through all the technical stuff and be able to see results right away. So we chose this as a demonstration of what we learned and how it feels to be in the digital world. No? So with the little learning that we had with Facebook Blueprint and with some of the discussions, we said, just do it, but let's do it right. Okay. So the outputs for next week, there are three. You know? First output is the 3-minute video, which I'll describe more later. Then you can opt to have a 15-minute video, which includes your 3-minute video. So basically, the 15-minute can be just you reporting on your PowerPoint, similar to your COSLA, and recording it. Okay. So the second portion is optional. You don't have to do it. The only advantage of number 2 is if you just send me the PowerPoint, the interpretation of the content and the explanation will be up to me. Okay, but if you record it in video, then I know and I get exactly what you are trying to say, and it's self-explanatory to me. Okay, so 1 and 3 are required, and 2 is, if you want, you can record as if you're presenting, and Zoom is a very easy platform to use to record your PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully, everybody has done recording. So uh, those are the 2 or 3 outputs which you can have for next week. Second, if you wanted to find out how do we score the 3-minute video, what am I looking for as far as inclusions in the 3-minute video? Number one, it all appeared at the same time. No? So number one is, since we took a lot of time trying to understand the theory behind it, is I'd really like for you to identify what theory or what concept you applied as basis for your campaign. Was it the 5 A's, uh, the O3, the how do you call that? The models, the bow tie, etc. No? So what theory was most useful for you to use when you did your plan? Because obviously when you did your campaign, there was a plan, there was an objective for you to achieve, and that's number two. The third is, having spent your money and your time and your brains to design and do the campaign, what was the result as far as metrics? How many engagements, how many views, and all that. But then that's just the third. The fourth is, what did you learn from having a plan and having some variance or some differentiation versus the result, okay? So that's also important. And number 5, given the learning, what will you do in the future for a similar campaign or for other things that you will do on the digital space? So these are the 5 things I'm looking for as far as the content for your 3-minute video. I'll just complete this before I open the floor for questions. So you might notice that the 3-minute video isn't just focused on the campaign itself. It's what happened before the campaign, what you learned, and then what will happen after the campaign as far as what will you do in the future. So those are important, or more important than the 1-week campaign that you did for 1,000 pesos or less. All right. So this is the scoring for the 3-minute video. Again, if this was a smaller class, I would have opened it up to as long as 5 minutes. But given the number of members of the class, the 3 minutes would be a good ideal target so that we can choose the top 3 or 5 for further discussion. All right. So now the relevant portions of the campaign, which you can include in your PowerPoint or in your 15-minute video, are how did it look, whether it's the page, if it was a pre-existing page, how did it look before the campaign, how many likes did it have, what was the sort of interaction on the page. If it was a new page, what were the available alternatives to customers or to potential target markets before you launched your page. So give us an idea of what was it like before the campaign, and then you can describe the campaign, take screenshots of what you did, the metrics, some of the comments and engagements or reactions, and then also try to, if there are available alternatives to your page, what others are doing. So this could be the components of your PowerPoint presentation. So the scoring for that is, again, if you submit all 3, the 3-minute, the 15-minute, the PowerPoint, those will be the percentages. The 3 minutes will be 40%, the 15-minute video will be 40%, the PowerPoint will be 10%. And then regardless of what you submit, I'd request that you make a final blog post showing links or embedding all these elements in that blog post. So that's an additional 10%. So the obvious question from this scoring will be, sir, what if I opt not to have a 15-minute video submitted? then I'll just add number 2 and number 3, meaning I'll give a 50% weight on your PowerPoint. Okay, that's it. I hear some sounds. I hope I wasn't muted all the time. um, Let me just show a couple more things before I turn back the share screen. If you choose to upload the video on YouTube, um, I'd like to give you the confidence that you can actually, if you type this words privacy in YouTube, will not discuss it in detail, but you can actually set it so that it's very difficult for others to find. Meaning only the people who you share the link to will probably have access to that video. Okay, so again, we just need the video uploaded so that I can see it and the class can see it with sound and everything. And that might work better if we take it from the learning from Frances' experience today. It might work well on the local computer, but once you try to share it, it might not. And YouTube has a better chance of being able to allow others to see your video presentation. All right, so I'll share the link to this on our Excel file, which I'll update later. And again, before I turn it over back to you guys, I'd also like to mention that the other resource speaker that we had, Mega Mobile, actually fixed her okay, so I'll share this. We won't have time to discuss this, but this is what she shared. So I'll put it in a blog post, and you can watch again. So that's the other thing. Now probably the best time to answer questions on the floor. Let me just pause my share and go back to you guys. What? Share, stop share. How do I stop share? Okay, so given that guidelines and discussion, do you have any questions on what's happening next week? Frances, yes. Yes, Frances.
Yep. Sir, actually, it's just a question in terms of the Facebook ad campaign. For example, since I'm not the owner of the page or the brand that I am trying to advertise, I'm not sure if we can create the Facebook ad on our end since we're not the admin. So this means that once I'm okay with my ad, I will have to share it with the owner since the owner will be the one to approve it. And at the same time, they will be the one to post it. Am I correct on that one?
Yeah, the ideal situation is one, you're the owner. If not, the owner sees the value of you doing a campaign on their page without spending anything, and for a short period of time, they can make you an admin of the page so that you can post it yourself and see
Okay.
on your own. But if it will take you time to get their permission and they will post it themselves, and perhaps it's not an ideal topic as far as doing a Facebook marketing campaign on. No, so I'd recommend that you consider setting up even a hypothetical page with a hypothetical product where you have full control. So the emphasis is to learn from it rather than it being a real thing. Uh, I don't know if that helps you in your decision, Francis.
Yeah, because the problem is I don't like, for example, if I'm gonna create a page, another page for them, I don't want to confuse their current customers that there is another page existing, and at the same time it might look like a poster account wherein you're trying to advertise a specific, well, it's the same product and it's on a different page. So That's actually my issue this last week, since what I'm trying to do is I would have to create the Facebook ad, but when I when I saw it, I can't create it if I'm not the admin.
Yeah.
If it's okay, sir, if that's the case, will it be okay to advertise other products instead? Like for example, I'm the admin for a specific product.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, it doesn't have to be a real product. You can just make up one.
Mm.
And then again, this is just for the student exercise. Okay. So uh, obviously it's easier if there's an existing product and there are existing packages or things, etc. But if it's not, then I guess the best option for you is to consider setting up your own page with your own, whether real or hypothetical product, advocacy, or whatever. All right?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any?
Okay, thank you, sir. That's only my question.
Thanks, Francis. Yes. Anybody with a question? Anybody charged with dollars yet? $1,000 is a little huge.
Coach, just a quick one.
Yes.
Just confirming. This is Archie anyway. So,
Yes.
we'll be posting, sir, yung yung guidelines kanina ng PowerPoint, what you're
Yes,
looking
yes.
for, scoring and so on. So, just
Yes.
there's a lot that we need to work on. So, I think that's goes for everybody. It would help kung nandun siya.
Yeah. Actually, don't be afraid. I just want you to tell me a story that this is what I learned from all these meetings that we had. I applied it in a platform called Facebook. This was the plan. And obviously, all plans don't go as well as we wanted. This was the result. This is what I learned. And because of this learning, this is what I'll do in the future. So basically, that's the 3-minute video story that I want you. So don't be too challenged by, oh, it has to be technical, it has to be movely like Joe did, or what. It doesn't have to be. I'm really more focused on the story of your digital journey in the 7 sessions that we have had together. I hope that's reassuring for you, because obviously we can't be experts in the short meeting that we had, but at least now we understand, okay, those are the considerations, these are my options, and hey, I actually had an experience which I can be proud of, and because I learned from it. So that's the objective, Archie. Thank you. Francis, yes.
Sorry, I'm so selfish today, sir.
No. That's fine.
Just going back on the ad campaign again, because from the learnings that I've seen before on the Facebook tutorials, it was mentioned there, I think when you create ad campaigns, if it has something to do with liquors, are we still going to be able to post it, sir? It's not a liquor, actually. It's a bar and restaurant that I'm going to change for my topic, since I recently, not co-founded, but I recently invested in a bar and resto, and we're trying to make it big this January. So might as well, since I'm one of the admin for that account, I can be able to advertise it. My question is just, we already have an existing page. Is it okay to advertise that since it involves liquor as well?
I'm pretty sure it's okay. And you'll quickly find out if you're doing something wrong, because it
Okay.
will stop you right away. In the middle of the campaign, it would stop your campaign if it sees a violation of any of its policy. So don't worry. And in fact, when you're stopped, you learn also. That's part of the.
Okay, thank
I've had campaigns stopped after 1 day, stopped after 3 days, and Facebook will say, "Hey, you're violating this and that, and you have to change." So don't worry about it. And again, as Jonathan said, and as my presentation said, just do it and learn from it. It's the important thing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So guys, again, a lot of trouble was brought about my flight delay. That wasn't planned. We have two more actually, but recognizing that I don't want to keep people beyond 5 o'clock. I think if my memory serves me right, Romel, you're the epilogue guy, right? You're the last one. So just as a heads up, who's before Romel? Who's doing? Okay. So if Romel doesn't mind, we'll have Melissa, and then maybe you'll have additional questions after Melissa, and then Romel, you'll be the first up next week before we do the Facebook videos, if that's okay. You're okay? Yeah. Okay. So again, before I turn to Melissa, so next week I need you to be able to be sure that your videos will be playing, whether it's because you have them tested. And again, let's learn from the experience today with Francis. It works well locally, but once you share it, it doesn't. No? So my test of it, my recommendation is try to do a Zoom meeting with yourself, meaning have a tablet, have a computer, a second computer, a little further down the room. Try to play your video and see if your video is being seen on the other side, in the other computer. And my guess is you will have a second option if it's uploaded on YouTube. It will be easier for others to see just in case there's technical stuff. So I recommend that you upload the 15-minute video on YouTube, post it in your blog, and then play the link from there. There will be probably less problems on that. Okay, so what's happening is after Romel next week and some discussion, we'll quickly play everybody's 3-minute video. We'll give guidelines on how we'll select the top 3 or 5, depends on the time that we have, that we'll choose to see the full 15-minute version. And after the 15-minute version, we'll go through a summary, a culminating activity of a summation of what transpired during the 8 sessions that we had together. All right. So Melissa, if any questions before I turn over to Melissa? Last chance. Oh, Peter mentioned that Shopee wasn't available today. And my answer to Peter is, I'm really not sure if we will have time. If you notice, even if I tried to control Jonathan for 30 minutes, it actually goes long, right? It's hard because it's so interesting. There's so much passion, so much interest. It's hard to stop a speaker. So one way to do it, and that's what you'll see in what Bridget did. If we confine it to 15, 20-minute recording, we're sure we'll give it that much time. So Peter, if they're interested, you might record their interview and then share the link to everybody, and we can go through. And if you can identify highlights of it, like taking your suggestion last time, I put highlights on my last recording. We'll go through 15-minute to 16-minute. That's where some of the more compelling insights are, etc. So we can go quickly to the meaty stuff. Okay. So unless there's any questions, we'll go through Melissa. She'll have a good 20 minutes, and we'll finish right before 5. Okay. Questions, guys? Okay.
Just very quickly, Prof.
Yes, Peter.
Sorry, I've already spoken to the Shopee speaker. Unfortunately, because of confidentiality reasons, they need a regional approval for a recorded video.
Okay.
So I think unfortunately, it may not happen on this occasion.
Okay. That's not surprising. So that's fine. But we did our effort, so that's good enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Melissa, are you ready?
Yes, Prof.
Okay.
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, you're up now.
Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, and you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So, good afternoon, classmates. I'm here to discuss the engagement marketing for brand affinity on the 11th chapter of our book. So, it covers harnessing the power of mobile apps, social CRM, and gamification. So, in the previous chapter, it was discussed to us, we were taught about
Melissa, suddenly you.
hello.
Yes, you're back.
Okay. In the previous chapter, we learned about the customer path. And in this particular chapter, we are being advised not to take for granted the stages of act and advocacy, because this is important in making sure that we gain customer engagement. And we will be able to do that through the popular techniques in the digital era, such as the mobile apps, social customer relationship management, and gamification. So the first topic that I'll be discussing would be mobile apps. So just before we go into the steps in making sure we have a seamless user experience for mobile apps, just some facts. So Jonathan Joson has gone through some facts earlier about the breadth of the reach of mobile apps worldwide. And here are also some facts that were shared in the book. So there are more than 70% of the global population that will own smartphones by next year. There are also around 80% of the mobile data traffic that will come from smartphones. And Americans also check their phones around 46 times a day, according to a study. And I think Wells mentioned earlier, and it was also discussed during our first meeting, Prof, that we Filipinos are spending about 3.2 hours on our mobile phones on a regular basis. And finally, in a study commissioned by Alcatel Lucent, it was found that smartphone users actually prefer self-service in the apps before instead of calling service help desk. So the next slide would show the advantages of the mobile app. So one is the mobile apps can be used as media for content. An example that was given on the book was the Pokemon Go app. And it was funny that Jonathan Hawson actually mentioned Security Bank as one of the websites that still need to adapt to being viewable in mobile phones. I use Security Bank as an example of a mobile app that can be used as a self-service channel, because it's my payroll bank presently, but there are also really some things that can't be used on the mobile app. But there's a lot of things that we can already do via the Security Bank app that exists presently. And last night I was with a former colleague that services Security Bank as their BPO, and there's a really big push for the bank to go into everything mobile within the year, because they are aware that it is the way to go for and it's more convenient for all of the customers because everyone is on their mobile phones. And then finally, another advantage of the mobile app is it can enable companies to integrate the core product in the app. So in the book, it was said that DirecTV is integrating the experience in their app. Locally, we have I Want by ABS-CBN, wherein the viewers in television who have missed shows can actually use the app to view streaming videos of the shows that they have missed. So we go into the steps to make the user experience seamless for mobile apps. One would be to determine the use cases of the apps, identify the customer frustration points, especially in experiencing the products. So for myself and for other makeup enthusiasts, L'Oreal created this app wherein you can determine if the makeup product is actually good for you or would match your features. If you're not very familiar with makeup, or if you don't know what foundation would match your skin type, if you're a warm, then you should use orange toned makeup, or if you're on the olive skin toned morena type, you should use one that's on the yellow toned side of like foundations or primers. I'm sorry guys for the for the TMI on makeup, but it's L'Oreal actually answers that for people who would like to purchase um, makeup products, and they would make it easy by just taking a selfie or putting a picture on the app. You would know which products of L'Oreal you would choose. And there's a myriad of makeup apps online that would actually help out customers in picking what is right for them.
Melissa,
Another, yes, sir.
Melissa, what's TMI?
Too much information.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
The next step to make the user experience seamless for mobile, and this is app I definitely not do not use, and perhaps sir you use the app for Nike Run Club. So the company must design the functionalities and the user interface. So for the Nike Run Club, it would have people interact with each other, compare how many miles they ran or how much time it took them to run 5 kilometers, and it updates you regarding your progress. So that's step two in making sure that a mobile app gives a seamless user experience for its users. And then finally, one or the company should determine how to integrate with other support elements that customers do not pay attention to but are critical to the customer experience. In the BPO, we're always measured on NPS as a top metric that we are contracted to meet with our clients. And in order for one to be a promoter of the product, one must delight the customer. So I think the Walgreens app delivers that, because not only does it deliver what the app promises, wherein one can order medicine through the app, it actually reminds users when they should take their pill. And there is feedback online also that apart from Walgreens making life easier by being able to order medicines through the app, it also has increased the interest of Americans in staying attuned to their health because of what the app has to offer. So I think those are some of the steps that would make the user experience seamless, and also uh, promote digital engagement for a company. And it has done well for the three companies that have taken advantage of the mobile app. The next topic will cover providing solutions with social CRM. So just some facts before we go into more detail about social CRM. So a research center reported that 65% of American adults' social media usage went up significantly in 2015 compared to the 7% in 2005. And then 3 years back, there were 2.3 billion users of social media already. We can imagine just how much there are now, according to We Are Social. And finally, one fact in the book states that in the UK, and maybe Peter, who's there, can attest to that, that 90% of the customers, would actually recommend brands after they interact with the brands on social media.
And sorry, the
So,
recommendation would be either on a positive or negative. Okay, don't buy this.
Yep. So the book also cautions us on social media and social media marketing and social CRM. So social CRM, there's the lines between the two are blurred, but it helps us define the difference between the two. That social media marketing involves delivering brand messages and content through social media, and it was discussed by Wells for us earlier on in chapter 9. And then social CRM involves resolving customer issues. So there are also times when social CRM and marketing can work together. So the companies can either choose two handles in Twitter, like Nike. Nike has Nike.com to give us like the new sneakers that are available, or the promos that are available presently. And NikeSupport.com is the one that services queries about perhaps delivery or any concerns that customers may have for Nike. And my best friend over the holidays at Talk to Globe is the customer service line of Globe locally. And at Enjoy Globe is the one that Globe uses to launch new plans, to tell us about available handsets and available promos for prepaid users. But there are also companies or government organizations that can choose one Twitter handle, such as the official MMDA Twitter handle. So they announce traffic situations, policies over their Twitter page. And it is also the same platform that they use to respond to people that are going into a journey, asking if it's traffic in EDSA northbound, or if there's a build up near Quezon Avenue. So it is the same platform that the MMDA uses versus other companies that would choose to separate their social CRM address or their social marketing address or Twitter handles. So we go into the steps for an effective social CRM. The first step is to build sense and respond to capabilities and to make sure that there is a proper social listening algorithm that would monitor and isolate from the noise what should matter to the stakeholders. So this is a screen grab of one of the series that I watch in Netflix called Jane the Virgin, and this is one of the hotel owners or the antagonists, and they have a recent murder that occurred in their hotel, and they were trying, I think the scene before this is that they were trying to put the crime scene or the murder that occurred in the hotel under wraps. There was a media blackout, no one was allowed to talk about this, but their social listening app or CRM actually picked up that there was someone that posted about the crime scene at their hotel. So it would impede all of their efforts in marketing that the hotel is for families, or the rebranding that they have done for the Marbella. So that's one step for building an effective social CRM. The next step would be to make sure that the CRM agents that respond to customer queries reflect the personality of the brand. In my example, on my left part of the screen, which also features the MMDA, it might not reflect that of an MMDA officer's very serious nature, but I think the MMDA respondents online make it more humorous because maybe the people that talk to them over the app are the ones in traffic or waiting in line at the MRT or at the buses, and I think they make it more comical so that they at least lessen the stress of the people that are either stuck in a bus or driving their cars in the middle of EDSA. And then maybe another recent post that I saw on social media will be for, I think, a place that sells roast pork in Taguig, and they called it TT Slimpo. And maybe someone can explain that to Peter and Solomon, how that is funny, because I think it was very effective of their social media manager to respond to the green comments of the customers without being lewd or I guess indecent, but still able to actually promote whatever products they have at their restaurant. The next and final step for an effective social CRM, one has to leverage community involvement. So the example that I have would be what Airbnb does. So it's relying on the feedback of the guests for the host so that one will actually book the listing depending on what the reviews are on the listing description is, or if the host is actually rated as a super host and you'd actually want to book the condo or the room. If you have a smaller budget, you probably just want to couch surf and stay in one's apartment sharing with the owner. So an effective social CRM would actually leverage those that have used the product and get their feedback so that they can get more customers or bookings for in the case of Airbnb. And then finally, the last item that I'll be discussing for what we can do to increase engagement in this digital era is gamification. So it's defined as the use of game principles in non-game contexts, and it's a powerful method to increase customer engagement. So the same researcher that gave us facts for social CRM, it's mentioned that 1,000 technology stakeholders and critics revealed that 53% said that in the next year, gamification would be mainstream, and the lesser percentage would just say that it's not going to be mainstream. But I think I agree with the 53% because on the next slide, I have personally my Mabuhay Miles app, and I have the Mabuhay Miles card before they went online and had the app, because I think most of us in this class also has their frequent flyer programs, which the airlines have used as the first forms of gamification. The next slide would discuss the reasons why gamification is an ultimate tool for engagement. Because one, everybody has that competitive nature. One would want to achieve higher goals and be recognized. There's also an addiction involved in pursuing higher tiers. I think a best example is my mom, who would want to get uh, higher points for her frequent shopper's card in Rustan's, or she's already gotten an elite card in Shopwise. So I think there is an addiction regardless of what age in pursuing gamification or utilizing gamification. And then finally, there's a strong accountability in the above, because the rewards actually encourage the customers to refer more people to get into buying a product or get into the same club as they have. The next slide would help us or will take us through the steps for effective gamification. So one needs to define the actions to trigger. So define what would be required to be part of the club, or how they would earn points. And the most common actions that the marketers would try to influence would be the actions such as purchases, referrals, and the payments. And an example of that would be the Starbucks app. So in the Philippines, every 12 Starbucks drink that you would buy would get you a free grande drink the next time you would want to purchase. So I think it's called stars for Starbucks, and I think here locally it's 12 stars for a drink, and then there's a different set of numbers that you have to achieve if you buy the coffee grounds um, in Starbucks. The next step for effective gamification would be to define the customer enrollment in tiering. So I don't think it's available for the Starbucks app here locally, or the Starbucks cards here locally, wherein there's a green level or a gold level. I think this is in Canada, where they have a green level rewards for Starbucks and gold level rewards for Starbucks. But there are other merchants that already have tiering and enrollment types for their different products. And then I think in the book, it also is an option for a merchant to demote the customer in terms of tier if they don't use their points, or if they are not purchasing at their store any longer. I think for Singapore Airlines, it's because I haven't flown in a year. They already forfeited my membership on the KrisFlyer. So Singapore Airlines is one of the merchants or one of the companies that use that to encourage, I guess, me to book again, but they're very expensive. But to have their customers involved in gamification. And then finally, the last step for effective gamification is to determine the recognition and the rewards. I think great minds think alike, because Frances mentioned Shopwise in her presentation. So, like I said, my mom is a Wise Card Elite holder because she shops at Shopwise for our groceries, and the reward that she gets for being an elite shopper is because when she pays, they have a specialized counter versus that of a regular Shopwise card holder. And when she pays at the counter, they give you a comfortable seat, and she already knows the cashiers because I think they are the ones assigned to elite shoppers. And I think she gets double points on a certain day, and she can collect stickers and get free pans or free knives whenever she uses her elite card status when shopping in Shopwise. So I think Rustans owns both Shopwise and Starbucks, and they're very effective in using the gamification method to engage customers. So if you don't have any questions, Prof, I'll move on now to the COSLA application of the topic in my line of work.
Yeah, no questions. Please proceed.
Okay. So how can mobile apps, social CRM, and gamification help us in engaging our customers? So for the BPO, I'll probably put it in my context that our customers or the ones that we would like to sign up for iCore would be applicants or agents. And we use an app called Work for Labs, and it actually links to put out ads regarding our openings. So apart from putting out ads in our social media profiles, we also get to track these against our names. And then when it gets reported out, we have a referral bonus for employees whenever they have successful recruits. So the app would actually aid our recruitment department in knowing who should get the referral bonuses, and it encourages people to easily refer their friends or family because it's just there in one app. The other application that we have for our company in terms of gamification is using the FB code when we refer. So we recently launched this for 2019, wherein those that would want to refer their friends would just chat with a bot. They have to go to a Facebook for our Facebook Messenger to their Facebook Messenger app, and then they click on the icon, they scan the code, and then they will be given by the bot the trip code that they would need to send out to their referrals, and whatever is tracked to their profile would be credited to them in terms of the referral fees that they would be getting in their salaries in the next coming months. And then we engage our applicants also via social CRM on our Facebook webpage. So we have 24 by 7 respondents to the comments that we see from applicants on our Facebook page. So I think the challenge there is having someone really available because there's absenteeism and all of the factors that would affect someone who will always be present answering comments. So we utilize this so that we can.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can you wind up in a minute so that yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure, sir. And I think I will go on to the last page of my presentation. So I think finally for iCore as a whole, we're not only a BPO, but actually in the US, the BPOs are connected to back offices that do repair services for other clients. So the CRM actually helped us increase staff productivity by using big data to get customer feedback and then line it up with back office details on how we can be more productive in the repair services, how it gets out to shipping, and how it gets to the customers in a very timely fashion. So that's it for my presentation regarding using the three tools to engage customers: the mobile app, social CRM, and gamification.
Okay. Melissa, thank you so much for sharing. And again, our apologies for cutting short the Q&A in the time for Romel today. Again, I just like to learn from the experience today, from what I saw being on a plane that wasn't moving for 3.5 hours. I saw everybody on their apps, on their phones, on their tablets, being connected to somewhere else other than being on the plane. And I was thinking that maybe if we had those technologies before during the time of World War One or World War Two, maybe Hitler wouldn't have done all these things if he had to watch Netflix or he had to pay his bills on because there's there's so much time. Or I go back. If earlier we were there on the plane for 3.5 hours and there were no internet and there was nothing else to do, I'm sure everybody will be so hostile and irritated and itching to get out and maybe outright uncivil. Yeah, but because of this, sometimes it tempers it. But again, we were all on the same space, but we were not together. No, we were somewhere else. So some good and bad about it. Again, guys, my apologies for something we didn't plan, but hopefully we'll recover in time for next week. We looking forward to just learning from the experience. What did we learn when we did what we did? And then put it to something that we can build on for the future, even beyond the course. So thank you. I'll post the links later or tomorrow, especially the guide on the Facebook marketing campaign, which I showed. Okay, thank you guys. See you next week. Bye.
Prof. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Prof.
everyone.
Bye bye.